Oh, okay. Here I am back again, and like I wanted to get back to those questions. Let me see, where are we now? Okay, that was, let's see, I don't know. It's like this page scrolls without me somehow. Um, darn. Alright, there's the Steiner question. And, yeah, what would you call metaphysics? And I thought a good answer to that was, whatever. Uh, Metaphysics is the lens through which we view the world. Okay. Okay, theoretical or not, and do you believe in a priori knowledge? I think you got the drift of what I'm saying. Is like there's supposed to be some kind of knowledge before experience a priori. There's some supposed to be, and then of course we have experience. We have knowledge after experience, a posteriori or something like that. However that works, I really don't know the Latin, so but I think roughly that's what it means. So I think yeah, we somehow just being uh, you know built or something, however we're made. The mind, grants us some ideas somehow. I don't know. It's like they studies in kind of push toward the idea that the mind is built to so that we can speak a language somehow. And so, but then again, language has to develop over many centuries or whatever. So you have to learn it from somebody who speaks it, whatever. And so it's like wolves. Children raised by wolves don't have much of a language. They don't have high level language or anything like that. Maybe they have some grunts and groans or whatever, but they don't they they don't have a language, but they have structures that are well adapted for to make that happen, especially in the early years, like when they're ages up to like 5 years old or whatever. But then again, if you study human growth and development, you find that the language skill actually isn't completed until you're 12 years old. So, by the time you're 12, you really understand the way that the language works. And television is, a crashing bore at that point. It's like a trauma. All of a sudden, you're 12 years old and you've memorized every television show. You know how all the writers write the stories. You can predict everything, every new show. You can predict all the things that are going to happen because you know how the writers think and what ideas they're always going to be plugging into every situation. So anyway, that was a thing that they found out, when my generation became 12 years old, oddly enough. And, that there were complaints all over the United States. 12-year-old children didn't want to watch television anymore. And so, of course, the advertisers and whatever, the politicians, that wanted television to, bring about the Great Society and all this kind of stuff, they were, in a crisis. What can we say to the children to keep them watching television? So, anyway, there's somebody wrote about that somewhere. It might be something might be on the net. But anyway, it happened to me, 12 years old, and boom, all of a sudden, language, the final skill, kicks in the mind, and boom, television is really simple and boring. So anyway, let's see. Right, and that last question, I guess you will say to the latter that this is the, no, you're just supposing. classical answer. But what about metaphysics and theory? Uh-huh. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't rule theory out. You could have a theory, have a theory if you want to, whatever. Um, uh, I don't know. I like theory. I know various things that are, theory or whatever. I like them, So anyway, of what I know about them, but I don't have any work application for anything that's very theoretical. I really don't. I was an experimenter in electronics, and I used Ohm's law, and that really is simply knowing how to do long division or having a calculator that'll do it at the punch of a button. And believe it, it'll make you a believer. It really will. Ohm's law will make you a believer. And that's the fundamentalism among electrical engineers. They, they have hit that divide button so many times in the laboratory that they swear by it. It's perfect. Ohm's law, and it is. In higher studies or more compli complicated analysis of what in the world engineers are doing with electrodynamic equations and everything. Electrical engineering conforms to theory better than any other science. It's a, it's very neat, this works out almost perfectly every time. So anyway, but Ohm's law will make you a believer, and anybody can do it with a little calculator and a meter. Run around your house and take some measurements. Figure out the thermal efficiency of your refrigerator and find out that it's 85%, and theory says that it should be. That it'll kick you around. So anyway, but let me see. Was there another thing here? Uh, so if there are metaphysical truths. Oh no, that's somebody else's question. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought you had asked some other questions. Um, and that is possible to have a position regardless of whether. Oh well, I really don't know a lot about philosophy. I've only taken a few philosophy courses. I didn't want to get a degree in it after I found out that one of my early professors, I was Dr. Miller, who's written several of his own books, but he doesn't really consider himself. He's a philosophy professor, with a doctorate in philosophy. Doesn't consider himself a real philosopher because he said the real philosophers are only the guys at the Ivy League schools that have, the super privileges or whatever. The world listens to them. If they say anything, if we need a philosophical thought, they ask one of these guys to write a book. So, he's saying that it's a very elitist kind of thing to be into. You have to go to the best school, get the best education, etc. And then people will recognize you as a philosopher. Your name will be known. It's a name game. So anyway, but I was really disappointed. That didn't worry me as much as the fact that he said that to be a Western philosopher, you have to be classified as either an Aristotelian, or a Platonist. You have to choose between Aristotle or Plato, or you can't play the game. That was his idea. And really, I hadn't developed the the great thought of it, at that time. But I really like eclecticism, so I'm willing to accept a lot of ideas from Aristotle and a lot of ideas from Plato. But I don't have to be on, Plato's baseball team. I don't have to be on Aristotle's football team. I don't have to do that. So anyway, but I got a lot out of both of them, I think. Well, some, because I haven't really, I haven't